It will make you look really professional on the day of your interview. Hey guys, welcome to another Black Box training video. Today we're going to be talking about tell me about a time questions, also known in the industry as TMAT questions. Now, without prior preparation, these questions can be quite tricky to figure out. These questions are given by recruiters as a way of them assessing your abilities in the workplace. So for us in aviation, we tend to talk about 8 core competencies. These are leadership and management, situational awareness, communication, decision-making, teamwork, knowledge, customer service, and workload management. So depending on the core competency will depend on the answer that you pick. That is why it's worth preparing answers for all of the 8 core competencies prior to going to an airline interview. The STAR method is by far the best way to give a clear, concise, and professional answer to TMAT questions. Situation, task, action, and result. It's a nice, simple acronym for you to remember and one that you can definitely prepare prior to your interview. Make it authentic to you, because ultimately, if you lie about this, you may be asked in the future and your story changes, so make sure to use a real example. Therefore, let's go on and actually run through STAR and let's see how we could formulate an answer to one of the core competencies.
Jonathan, tell me about a time when you showed exceptional leadership abilities.
First, you start with the situation. You give a brief description of the event that happened. Now, I would take a personal story. So for example, I remember a time when I was a new cadet in my first airline. It was a very poor weather day in the middle of winter. The captain was going to be late to the aircraft by approximately 1 hour as well, stuck in traffic due to an accident. Therefore, it fell on my shoulders to lead the team of cabin crew, ground staff, and also deal with the passengers as well. There you go, I've painted the situation in a really clear and concise manner. Next up is task, and I would take approximately 30 seconds to describe this as well. So the task I set out based on the situation was that I wanted everything prepared, ready for the captain to go, to minimize delays and get the passengers on the way as soon as possible. I knew that I would have to make most of the decision making when it came to actually preparing for that flight that day. Next up is the bulkiest part of your answer, which is the action. These are the things that you actually done. How did you do it? What did you do? Who did you talk to? Okay, this is when you can start to bring in other core competencies, as explained earlier, to try and surround your answer and really shine in the way that you deliver. Again, I would approximately answer about 2 minutes or up to 2 minutes for the action part of the STAR method. Arrived at the crew room. I printed off the flight plans and I looked at the weather for the day. As I mentioned, the weather was very poor, therefore I made the decision to uplift more than 1 ton of extra fuel. This was in case of delays on the way out of London Stansted and also known delays on the way into Riga as well. It was very snowy. When I communicated that to the ground staff, I also organised for both front and rear steps to be attached to the aircraft. The front steps of the aircraft were unserviceable. I then met the cabin crew and briefed them on the day. We accepted the fact the captain was going to be late and that we were going to have to deal with the passengers who were potentially going to be very unhappy. Therefore, we also decided to do an early tea and coffee service because it was a very early flight. One of the decisions we made was to board the passengers on time, and this was just in case the captain was able to get to the aircraft earlier than previously scheduled. I then proceeded to pre-flight the aircraft, doing the exterior inspection and then coming in and doing all of the interior. I wanted the captain fully ready to go when he got onto the aircraft. As a finishing touch, I was able to call the company and ask them if they wish me to do anything else. And in the meantime, I also proceeded to do a PA to the passengers, explaining the situation and asking for their patience. The result was the captain got to the aircraft 10 minutes prior to his original ETA and we're able to get airborne within those 10 minutes and get on our way to Riga. So there's a good example of the STAR method. And I think you agree, even though I was only asked about leadership, I was pretty much able to touch on all of the other 7 core competencies. Leadership and management was the main question, but I showed situational awareness, communication, definitely decision making, definitely teamwork, a good level of knowledge in respect to the fuel amount I wanted to uplift, customer service in relation to the PA that I'd done to the passengers and being aware of how the passengers may feel about the delay, especially that early in the morning. And then workload management, doing the exterior inspection, coming in and doing the interior as well. So even though I was only asked about leadership, I was able to demonstrate a lot more from that given situation. Remember, TMAT questions aren't always given in a positive way. And what I mean by that is the recruiter may decide to give you a negative question with TMAT. For example, I've been asked before, tell me about a time when you have made a mistake on the flight deck. So formulating these answers can obviously be more difficult. What I would recommend is that you prepare these answers prior to going to the interview. So you've got a set of examples in your toolbox to be able to use to give to the recruiter. When answering those negative star answers, make sure to always finish with a positive result. What did you learn from that experience and how did you resolve that negative experience? If they're asking you things about resilience, i.e. emergencies when flying, again, what did you learn from that experience and what will you do in the future? Always make sure to wrap that answer into a nice positive finish to show the recruiter that you're self-aware and that you're taking actions to learn from those mistakes. And that's why putting the work in to formulating answers prior to your interview can be a really nice way for you to reduce your stress on the day, stop you from getting flustered, and also show off your abilities in any given situation. So that concludes the tutorial on the TMAT questions with STAR method. If you've got any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to get in contact. There will be more to come on blackboxtraining.co.uk. However, for now, please like and share the video and come and see us on YouTube for a subscribe as well. Thanks. See you again.